Hello and welcome in to the Retirement Playbook brought to you by Alspaugh Wealth Management. We're here with you every week dropping some great information on the public here. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. What's going on, Tony?
Well, Brock, a lot is going on. I've been so busy. I've been drinking coffee. I've probably had 40 cups just to try to keep up with you today. You always leave me in the dust. You're always so full of energy
I love it.
and excited about the show, but I'm excited today as well. I know you have a lot of great information for our listeners out there. Things seem to be doing pretty good out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the stock market has been on one heck of a run here, Tony.
Yeah, it's
We
up
got
again
scared a
today.
couple of weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Little recession scare, like,
Right.
hey, recession's coming, and we're not going to lower rates because inflation continues to, eat at the American public's budget. But the
Right.
problem with that is that we just forget about it. It's like
Right.
it didn't happen, and that we're moving on.
Yep.
And Jerome Powell actually is going to be talking this week about rates and what he sees in the economy and what he might think rates will go to. Of course, Jerome Powell being the president of the Federal Reserve, so the chairman. So
The Fed chairman.
one of the things you got to look at, folks, is when you're talking about trying to predict what the markets are going to do based on any kind of information at all, you're going to be wrong. You're going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, you will get it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And because, I have my personal feelings about the stock market, and my personal feeling is this, Tony. I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. It's volatility is ahead. Okay. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Now, will it happen? I don't know if it will or not, but my basis on that is the fact that we have so many things that have happened in the last 18 months, and nothing has affected what the market is doing. It just keeps going up. The whole AI, boom here that we've experienced with technology stocks, right? It's a big mover in the market. At some point, that is going to end. Okay, we've got a big election coming up here in the next few months. There's going to be some volatility ahead, and that's okay. Just don't make decisions based on what you think might happen or what actually does come to fruition, because it's all about the fundamentals, folks. It's all about blocking and tackling. And in our world, blocking and tackling is this: getting a score of where you need to be from a allocation standpoint, and then allocate that way and don't deviate. Right now, as you get older and your score changes and becomes more conservative, that's okay. Make adjustments in your portfolio based on that, not on what you might think happened. Okay. So anyway, that's the story. I'm going to get off my soapbox here, Tony, and I'm going to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is our show topic. Okay. That is preparing your finances for the fall. Oh boy,
Yep.
Here we go.
I love
favorite
fall.
time of the year. My favorite
Yep.
time of the year.
Mine too.
My favorite time of the year. I
It
love
cools
it.
down a bit. It's crisp. The air. It's so great. It is
Fires.
my favorite time.
Fires, right?
Yep.
Okay. I sound
Yep. Get the fire pit going, have the neighbors over, right?
So real funny quick story. So we're out playing golf at our golf club, and somewhere around the golf club, someone is burning like trees, because they're developing some land and whatever.
Mhm.
Tony, I love the smell of a fire.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm
That
out
burning wood smells great.
just
Mhm.
makes me so happy. And the sun was out, and it's just like, who's got it better than us?
Right.
I mean, who's got it better than us right now? We're smelling the fire. The sun's out. It's 80 degrees, and it's August, and it's in Missouri. No
Plus
one's
pro
got it better.
football.
Yeah.
Football season starting up. That's another beautiful thing about fall, in my opinion.
Listen, so I used to be like an NFL guy. Like, I liked college football, but
Yep.
NFL was my thing. And I
Yep,
think
that's my thing.
a lot of it's, the fantasy football and that kind of things. Okay.
Yep.
So you have NFL football, and then
Yep.
we had college, and then, I didn't have anybody in high school. So high school was just like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, whatever. I never went to a game because I didn't have any vested interest in it. I have absolutely flip-flopped, Tony. So my order now is high school football, college football, and pro football. And I still love
Really?
all three. Yeah, I still love all three of
Wow.
them almost equally.
Yeah.
But my
Well, I know
point is,
you're a fan because you've already, before we even started talking about the fall, you already used at least one or two football analogies,
right.
block and tackle.
Right. So anyway, yeah. So high school, the Friday night lights, man.
Oh, yeah.
So even when my boys are gone, I got a freshman, so I got 4 more years of this. But even after that, I will continue to go to games because it's so exciting, that Friday night lights. Anyway, there you go. I'm off all that stuff.
Yep.
Let's talk about preparing your finances for the fall. We all know and love summer, right? I mean, we love getting in the pool. You love, being outside and doing
Love
things.
summer.
And
Yep.
yeah, summer's great. And one of the bad things about summer is that it ends.
That's true. That's true.
So these it's going to get cold at some point, right? You're not going to want to be outside. All the
Right.
cookouts on the patios and all the stuff you do in the summer. Now you're trading it off for like warmer socks and raking leaves and doing all the things that we have to do in the fall to get ready for winter. And but that also means that what you got to do when we're talking about your finances is do a little tune-up. That's what we're talking about.
Because
right?
a lot of us probably spent too much on a vacation over the summer, or some of our listeners out there, maybe they bought a boat or took the family to Disney World or went camping or took that road trip across the states to Colorado or something, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So these things happen, but you got to get your finances back on track.
Exactly.
That's fall.
Tony, you hit it on the head. We could end the show right now by just saying that.
Oh, I don't think
I'm being serious. That's exactly it. Because listen, you get a little derailed.
Yeah.
Right? You start off the year, you're like strong and you got this huge, you got your budget and you're saving money, you're doing all those things. And all of a sudden summer comes along, it's like, let's take a little bit out of the savings account. Let's take a break from the budget.
Let's not do the budget thing
Let's
every
go down and
week
take
or
that
month.
extra trip to Florida, whatever it may be. So listen, things happen, life happens.
Yeah.
But now the fall has come. And this is exactly why, Tony, I tell all of my friends, I tell everybody this. Fall is our busiest time of the year for us. It really is, because people are starting to, the kids are back in school, or grandkids, or whatever the situation may be. And so now it's like, okay, let's get back on track here and let's do a little tune-up. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about some spending trends, right? Because again, as Tony, you mentioned, listen, you've got to get that thing back in order and not spend so much money on things. And again, that I think naturally happens for a lot of people. It does, right? Okay, so you're going to talk about the budget, the B word, Tony.
Uh-oh.
So, yep. So we understand that sometimes our budget gets derailed. A lot of times, again, happens in the summer. What I want you to do, folks, is that I want you to focus on going back to your budget that you created at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, and really focus in on the things that maybe has gotten a little derailed. Let's start there. What are we doing wrong first, right? So we want to say, okay, let's clean this up. We're spending too much money in our discretionary area of eating out. So let's cut that back down to where it needs to be, right? Travel is pretty easy because many people, travel season's over for them, right? So, hopefully that is the case for you. If it's not, maybe think about saying no to that next trip here if you have one coming up at the rest of this year. So really getting back to the basics, the blocking and tackling, Tony, of sticking to that budget that you created. Look, creating a budget is not easy, right? It is hard, and it's sacrifice, and it's a lot of time and energy to do it. But you did all of that. You put all that time and energy into it. So put it to use.
Yeah.
Let's get back to
You've created a playbook. You've created a strategy of plays for that big game, the Friday night game under those Friday night lights.
Yeah.
But you don't just, when the game starts, you don't just throw out the playbook.
Right.
You got to try to stick to the fundamentals.
Exactly. You might make some modifications. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. You make some modifications, but ultimately you just got to stick to what you do good.
Yeah, you have to modify as you go, but you also need to execute what you have. It's never going to work if you don't execute it. So get back to the plan.
Get back to the plan. One of those things, though, that we need to do is to make sure that if you did create rack up a little bit of credit card debt, or maybe any kind of debt, really, you bought a car, whatever it is, let's get back to really, paying those debts off, especially the ones that are the highest interest, which are typically your credit cards or your car loans.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a home equity line of credit, for example, I've heard some people say that they use that as their savings account or a backup deal. Okay. If you racked up a little debt over the summer, let's get that paid off. So let's start there. But then let's also make sure, this is kind of the next one, is that we have our emergency fund level to where it should be. Okay. So again, let's say we are $10,000 short of our goal in our emergency fund because, again, we spent a little more money in the summer. It's okay. Okay. But let's get back to building that emergency fund up to where it needs to be. So those are the two most common, Tony. It's like we've racked up a little credit card debt or whatever, any kind of debt.
Pay down debt.
And then we also took too much money out of our savings, so our emergency fund is lower than it should be. Those are the two main points. Okay.
And that happens for a lot of folks.
It does.
Don't feel bad, but just make sure you address it and work with a financial professional to help you strategize on how to address it, right?
Okay, exactly. Now, let's talk about something that's a little bit further out. Let's make sure, let's say it's we're a few months down the road. Okay. And we're back to where we need to be on our emergency fund. We're back to not having any credit card debt. What we do need to think about is maybe readjusting for that budget, maybe readjusting and increasing the amount that we're going to spend on whatever you spent on in this summer so that you're ready for next summer, so you don't get in this position of credit card debt or, taking too much out of your emergency fund. Okay. So what I mean by that, Tony, is like, hey, okay, is this something, let's analyze what we did. And if we feel like that's going to be a part of our lifestyle next year, let's save a little bit of extra money, right? For that. So we don't get any credit card debt. And so we don't dip it too much into our emergency fund. So kind of thinking about some forward thinking deals for next year to make sure that this doesn't happen again and do that. Does that make sense, Tony?
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. You really want to make sure you have a plan in place to prevent these things from happening. Right?
Okay. Yes, sir. So here's another thing. It's fall time, which usually means that you need to enroll or make any changes to your employee benefits at work. Okay. Mm-hmm. Your open enrollment period is often in the fall. That's your opportunity to make any of these changes. Maybe you need to make a change to your healthcare coverage, right? Maybe we need to think about an HSA. Whatever the situation is that you just need to make sure that we have the right plan. Did it work for you, right? So did your health insurance coverage work for you in this past year? If it did, okay, stay the same. If it didn't, let's make some changes, right?
Yeah. You want to max out all your employee benefits, right?
Exactly. I mean, your retirement accounts, your life insurance policies, your health insurance, so that's another one, Tony, obviously, with what we talk about here, investing and retirement planning, is, making sure that you have the right amount to save in retirement, right? So we're talking that 10 to 15% of your income, putting it into a retirement account that you might have at work. And at the very least, Tony, let's at least do the contribution level that requires you to get the most from the company match. So if you have to put in 6 to get 3, at least put in 6. So this is a good time of year, once again, to make sure that these things are in order. I've talked to people here in the last couple of months. And, some of these things, when you're talking about a little bit of credit card debt, when you're talking about not putting money in a 401k to get free match, I mean, that's silliness, but I have heard people doing this. Okay, Tony. And to me, another reason why I think volatility is ahead, because if people are not saving as much, if people are spending more, that oftentimes leads to a recession. Okay. And again, Tony, a recession is not the end of the world. Just be prepared for
it. We're probably due for a market correction a
or at least
significant.
due for that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So
because the markets have been going up and up and up. We had one little downturn, but it's more than made that up.
that lasted a week. I
Yeah,
mean,
not
come
even,
on, man. Yeah, not
not
even.
even
So,
3
you know,
days
yeah.
max.
So when we're talking about recessions, and we're talking about corrections, right? Corrections are just normal things that happen in the market.
Yeah.
It goes down. The stock market
Jobs
goes down.
report
You're
comes
talking
out, it's
5 to
ticked
10%.
down. Yeah.
And so at 5 to 10%, I mean, that's not a big deal, right? Now, it may seem like it if it happens quickly, but a 5 to 10% corrections are normal throughout a year. In fact, really 2 of those per year are kind of normal, right? And
And
it's
they
a
can
good
and
way
they're
to
good
yes, they're good. They're
because you're
exactly.
putting constant money into your retirement accounts every couple of weeks. You want a downturn, so you're buying low at some point.
So listen, it resets values. Really, that's what it does. And so it
Yes.
allows you to, again, to buy in, as to your point, Tony, at lower levels potentially when the market goes down. The other thing is that when you're looking at, PE ratios, if you're looking at standard deviation, you can see how things are getting a little inflated. Okay. So that's okay. 2 to 3, even 5 to 10% corrections per year. Fine. Now we had that? No, we have not. Okay. Now, the other part of that is a recession. A recession is a little bit of a longer event, Tony, right? So a recession says that, maybe 2 quarters of GDP being down, okay, kind of qualifies for a recession. Um, it's just a longer picture, an overlooking picture of our economy versus a correction in the stock market. So I just wanted to clarify the differences between the corrections that you talked about versus a recession. Okay. So anyway, neither one of them are terrible. If they happen, we'll get through it and it'll be fine. And it's an opportunity to take advantage of some resetting of values. That's really the bottom line there, folks, when it comes to doing that. Another thing about, because we talked about workplace retirement funds, we talked about life insurance. Hey, listen, people are making a little bit more money, right? We've seen wage growth increase, but one of the things that we have not seen increase is people increasing their life insurance coverage.
Hmm.
The reason why I bring those two things up, Tony, is because those two things are usually correlated, because it's usually a multiple of your income that you use to determine how much life insurance you should have. And so if we're making 30, 40% more than we did 5 years ago when we bought our last life insurance policy, it is a great time to reevaluate your life insurance needs, number one, and number two, actually go to put it into place. In other words, okay, we actually do need more. So where do we do that? You can do it through your work, potentially. Just know that if you do that, if you leave that workplace, it doesn't go with you. Okay. It doesn't go with you. So a lot of times it's good to have a little bit of mix of both, having your own coverage that you personally buy, and maybe you buy some term insurance, maybe you buy some permanent insurance, and then you have some at work. So you got a good mix of all three. Okay. But ultimately, how do you do that? How do you determine how much you should have? We have a needs analysis, a life insurance needs analysis that we can walk you through all of this. So if you need help, just give us a call at Alspaugh Wealth Management, 573-332-7855. Or you can look us up on our website at alspaugwealthmanagement.com. Okay. So, Tony, great time of year to look at all of these different things that you've got going on here and how you can maybe help yourself because of these open enrollment periods at work, because
Yeah.
you're resetting all of the things in your
Yeah.
budget.
And you mentioned insurance. A lot of people, when they first come to you, and I bet a lot of our listeners out there who haven't been working with you, a lot of them are probably overinsured or underinsured. One of the
Definitely.
two.
Yeah.
They probably have insurance they don't need. You've seen people come to you and they show you what they have, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
you're paying way too much for this. You probably would be better suited for this, right?
Right.
Or
Right. I would say 99% of the time, though, Tony, people are underinsured for
underinsured.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, especially recently, because again, a lot of these with life insurance specifically are, kind of determined based off of your certain situation, right? So
Sure.
how young your kids are, if you have kids,
Yeah.
are they going to go to college, or, if something happens to you, how do you pay for that? Retirement, income replacement. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into a needs analysis to make sure that you have enough coverage. And that is something that it would be very, very difficult, in my opinion, Tony, to try to figure out on your own.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to a financial services professional or a life insurance agent that specializes in this. So, again, we can help you with that. But at very least, just think about what coverages you have and what you might need, and see if there's something you can do at work through the open enrollment period, through your group life insurance. If not, you can buy some term insurance outside of your work, or a permanent insurance and policy. Okay. So I like all three. There's not one that's better than the other. They all have their purposes. People say, oh, buy term and invest the rest. Okay, that might be a great strategy, but it's not for everybody. Okay, it's all
Right.
determined based on your specific situation. Okay, so to say that one is better than the other, or somebody in the public's says, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. No, stop it. Okay, stop
Yeah.
the silliness.
Because everybody's situation is different, and each insurance policies change so much too. They've been improving them. I mean, you can
Oh
get
yeah,
cash value life insurance policies where you can use the death benefit before you pass if you need it for long-term care, right?
yeah,
Hybrid policies. There's so much out
absolutely.
there now, right?
What's what my wife and I do, right? So we fund a life insurance policy. It builds cash value, sure, has a death benefit. So if something happens to me, my wife and my family are taken care of. Okay. And then also, if I need it for long term care, right, I
Yeah.
can use the death benefit to pay for long term care expenses.
Yeah.
So again, these are all things that, go into the equation of what's best for that particular situation.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right, Tony, I think that about wraps it up here this week on what we're doing and what we're talking about. If you have any questions, folks, give us a call at 573-332-7855, or look us up on the web at alspaughwealthmanagement.com.
All right, Brock. Great show today. Awesome. We even worked in a little bit of football talk, a couple of analogies on the Retirement Playbook, aptly named. So, listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Playbook with our host, Brock Alspaugh.